Tuesday, October 7th, Bitcoin at 121,900 as I record this. MSTR closed at 328.4. Ugly day. Had a lot of Bitcoin bears thinking that they are correct. And I'm not going to lie, I predicted it this morning in my pre-market update for my group. Legitimately, I didn't say that I think we will retrace, but I said if we're going to, it's going to be soon. And it's not hard to see why, guys. Look at the red line on this chart. This is Bitcoin linear chart. If I zoom all the way out really quickly, this is that 8-year channel that goes back to 2017. So 8 years of price action contained in this channel. For context, we are above the 8-year channel. And there's just this one pesky last resistance that currently is up at about 126,400 that we've rejected off of 3 times that I think we will eventually break through, although time will tell. On this chart, that 8-year channel has been flipped to support, and it's providing support at about 118,200. If and when we break above that last resistance overhead, again at about 126,400, I expect Bitcoin's price to rapidly appreciate. We can talk targets later on in this video. Now let's look at Bitcoin through a different lens, my favorite lens, and that is my log chart right here with the breakout levels. There's not a lot going on in this chart. Hopefully it doesn't look too busy. I see 5 levels for Bitcoin currently, dating back to inception. So the first level, just for reference, guys, back here in 2013, it broke through and gained 1,670% in 13 weeks, okay? Level 2, right here. And you get the most explosive move right when it breaks out. It gained 310% in 4 weeks. Again, that was in 2013. So we just covered one breakout in 2013, another breakout in 2013, then level 3. This was in 2017. This one was a little bit more confusing, or at least a little bit trickier, I guess I should say, because it broke above, came back below, and then proceeded to gain 650% in 29 weeks. This is by far the closest analog to 2025 so far. Granted, we don't have a huge sample. We only have 4 breakouts to draw from. Now, level 4, we entered in 2020. Okay, in 2020, it was a lot cleaner. It was like you broke out, you basically backtested it, and then we're off to the races, where it gained 275% in 22 weeks. So almost a 4x return in 22 weeks. And just to reiterate, I've probably said this before, but when I give you those numbers, like I'm not accounting for the fact that if you bought at the COVID low, you actually gained 1,575% in 57 weeks if you bought perfectly off the COVID low. Also, if anybody doesn't believe in these log chart breakout levels, do you see where the COVID low pivoted from? Like, to me, that is about as good as it gets and as clean as it gets, right off of the breakout level from the 2017 breakout. Now, what happened today? And was today, throw in the towel, it's over for us, guys, Bitcoin's dead, blah, blah, blah. Was it that, or was it the exact opposite? Was it the ultimate perfect bear trap? I know where I stand personally, and that is, look exactly what happened. If you guys have been following my channel since whenever I started doing these MSTR Bitcoin updates, like April or May, I think, and in June, maybe they really started to pick up. You know that I have been looking for and praying for today's price action. Ryan, that doesn't make sense. Why are you betting against Bitcoin if you're long? Because that backtest right there, like, let's switch this to the daily view, okay? That backtest right there might have been your like generational wealth entrance opportunity. We will know soon enough. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I do own Bitcoin, MSTR. Still have a multi-million-dollar position long, you know what I mean? And I added to it today, as you would expect. Actually trimmed a really successful position at open because WGMI was flying, and I think we did like a 12x return on some WGMI options we've been in. And I said, you know what? Like, this is so overextended from its short-term moving averages. I'm going to trim this position. And then later in the day, guess what I did? I redispersed a lot of the money from there into, by the way, I left runners. I didn't like trim the whole position, but redispersed a lot of that into other miners, other proxies. I've been real active in my group for MSTR investors, which I'm just going to plug, by the way, because if you sold or if you were feeling like you didn't know what to do today, like, I hope that this membership is worth its weight in gold because I was active today. I already posted 2 videos to the group, so I wanted to plug that briefly. That is linked below in the description. But this backtest right here, to me, we could look back on that candle and say, that was the entrance. Like, that was the opportunity. Anybody who thought they were late to this trade, That was your chance right there. And who knows? I don't know what the future holds, but you know what I'm willing to do is go back in time. And again, I'm a talking head on a screen on YouTube. Don't trust me with your life savings. TradingView is out here for everybody. You can go into TradingView and look at what I'm about to show you yourself. So you don't need to like, and by the way, I'm sharing data that is out there. So it's not like this is my opinion. All I'm showing you is what already happened years ago. So yeah, my bias is bullish, but it's informed by this data that, again, everybody has access to, okay? Look right here, 2020, okay? This is 2020 on the daily instead of the weekly. You break out. Oops, nope, just kidding. We're back underneath. Nope, we're breaking out again. Yay, we're bullish. Nope, we're back down again. But notice, higher low. Well, that's the low. Higher low, and basically it wasn't a perfectly clean backtest of the breakout line right there, but pretty darn close. I measured it earlier in my group video, and it was like a fraction of a percent. It was like 0.85% off from being a perfect clean backtest of the breakout level. Very similar to what we experienced today. By the way, look what followed. You basically had, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty muted green candles. And then guess what happened next? Next is when the bears received that unfortunate news for them that no, they were wrong. You know what I mean? When they were celebrating this sell-off right here that ultimately never got below the level that actually matters. Well, right here, there's back-to-back daily candles of 12%, where those bears received that unfortunate news that, yep, yeah, you were wrong. We're going significantly higher. It is the log chart breakout level for a reason, because these breakouts are when the most rapid appreciation of Bitcoin happens, at least predictable rapid appreciation. And again, the past doesn't mean that we know the future, of course, but I definitely have my bias. I have no reason to think this time will be different. It's so funny how the people talking about, oh, it's a short cycle, or we have a month or two left for Bitcoin to appreciate, and we're only going up to 140,000. Like, if only they could like just see this chart, because they're the ones telling you this time will be different. I'm the one saying, no, this time won't be different. Bitcoin's going to north of 300,000 probably. And it'll probably take 5 to 6 months. This time won't be different. This time will be just like the other 4 times that I just walked you through. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, don't take me at my word. Just go look. By the way, also, I just made an email list today. I'll put a link to that in the description. If you want to give me your email address, the first email you'll receive has a link to where you can clone this chart, my log chart of Bitcoin, which is worth its weight in gold to me. This is literally why I'm doing this, why I'm on YouTube right now, making this video, because this chart gives me the confidence to speak to a day like today where everything was selling off and it's so bearish, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm buying on a day like today, because look at the context. Look where we are. Next up, let's talk MSTR. This green parallel channel goes back to 2020. So it's got 5 years of price action encapsulated in it. Going back to when MSTR became the first Bitcoin treasury, let's zoom in. The first thing I wanted to share, guys, is that, well, on weekly bars, we have our low of 292. Then we have last week's low of around 311. Then we have this week's low of around 328. I'm noticing a series of higher lows, which is potentially indicative of a trend change. That's good, right? I've been telling people not to go long via derivatives, via leverage on MSTR until we close above 360. Yes, the trickery continues with MSTR. Notice I said closed above because, well, we gapped up and opened above it, but we didn't close above it on Monday or Tuesday. So we've traded above it. We haven't closed above it. I think we need a close above 360 to truly flip that to support. And after we get above 360, guys, we can set our sights on the next resistance up here on this declining white line of around 404. After that, we'll look at 424, which is the top of the whatever we're calling these structures, the J structure, the ladle structure. Guys, just as a reminder, because I know there's a lot of people engagement farming on Twitter and stuff like that. I can't tell if people are serious, if they're acting dumb. Why are you worried about the MNAV in here? The only people making money in here, go follow Hermes Lux. That dude will teach you how to make money in the base of MSTR's J structures, which, by the way, we're in the 3rd big base in a row going back to 2024. The people making money in here are the ones selling covered calls. The money, if you want to be long via, aggressive shares, I don't know, derivatives, MSTU, MSTX, or options, it predictably happens when you break out of the base. So literally above 424, we'll I don't say, guys, not financial advice again, but we should very quickly get back to 457. And then after that, set your sights on the all-time high. And then after that, it's going to fly. There is a hidden resistance in there that I'm watching for, because above that, yeah, it's just going to get crazy, guys. I mean, again, I've talked about this before. That day is going to come, but just don't go broke and find ways to be wrong when we're in the base. Like, sit on your hands while we're in the base. The day will come. Also, just wanted to share, like, we have a pretty similar structure in each base. Notice, like, there's like this declining white line and then a baseline right there in the early 2024. Then it happens again in the late 2024. And then it basically happens again with a kind of a remix to it because, well, we never broke out and above and then retraced back on top of that decline line as we did today in a single massive candle. What was that sell-off? A total of minus 8.6%. Absolutely insane. But you can see where it stopped too. It stopped literally, if you draw a decline line from the July top at 456 all the way down basically through, not that top, through this top right here from September, mid-September. You basically got it stopping at the top of that declining line. So I expect that to hold, and I expect us to reverse higher from here personally. Until I have a reason to, like, those decline lines are significant, guys. So the fact that it stopped there doesn't surprise me. If we lose that support, then it's a different conversation. But it looks like it also closed that gap, basically. Did it? Yeah, it looks like it closed the gap down to like 328 as well. If not, it might be off by a few pennies. But what else is there for MSTR? The log chart. The log chart. So the breakout, we got another fake breakout. So brutal. The breakout line for tomorrow, Wednesday, October 8th is 355.6, basically 355.6. And it's been a while since we talked about these breakout lines. So if you want, we can go back through it really quickly. If I just zoom out on the MSTR log chart, the last three breakouts prior to this one were clearly captured by these decline lines. There's definitely significance to them. If you ask me, we had that breakout right there where we essentially, if you bought the breakout, you made 924% in 27 weekly bars. And as a reminder, guys, the closest analog for what we're experiencing today, which is a Bitcoin log chart breakout, is this one right here where it 10x'd. And this is a linear chart of the move I just circled where it essentially breaks down the big upward move into three kind of minor moves nested within. And then if I switch this to weekly and kind of zoom out, it's looked like, going back to November, like we've been replicating a very similar move to what I just showed you back here, leading to the third and strongest move, in phase 3 right here. So I just wanted to say that, I've shared this chart before. It's been a while since I probably shared it on YouTube though, that, the best is yet to come, is what that has me believing. But the next one here, the next decline line was a long one. You had to wait basically from 2021. Then you got the fake out, the rejection here in November 2021, and big sell-off, bear market, etc. You got the fake breakout here, slam back under. And if you were patient on the, or you bought this back test of the 200-day, well, look what came next. A massive gain here. If you bought this second real breakout, you got a 439% return in 22 weeks. Then we had the most recent breakout here in November of last year, where if you bought that breakout and didn't get faked out, because every single one of these had a fake breakout, by the way, including the one that we're working on right now, you got a 245% return in 8 weeks. And then here we are today. I'll zoom in and just show you guys that, we had the fake breakout back in July. We know that. Slam back down. And now we're just kind of spending some time around the .com bubble top at 333. I did not have it on my bingo cards to be underneath 333 today. However, here we are. We've got the IPO trend line. So just for, if anybody's writing down levels tomorrow, the .com bubble top never changes. It's 333.3. The IPO trend line is up at 345.5 tomorrow. So if we have a strong day tomorrow, that might be kind of a target for where we might close. Although, of course, there's shorter term moving averages, all those things. The 200-day moving average tomorrow will likely be up at around 350, almost on the dot. All right, bonus section. Let's talk about the rate of change. This is my favorite new metric for predicting breakouts. Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. So we're looking at the 200-week rate of change. And look at this yellow decline line. Well, guess what? This goes back to 2015 in Bitcoin's history. And we have a breakout on March of 2025. Basically, it marked the low right here at 74,000 pretty much perfectly. And this thing has barely picked up like at all since then. And I expect it to pick up massively. It wouldn't surprise me if we return up to something around this level right here in like the 4,500. I don't even know what that metric honestly means. But basically what I'm saying is I expect it to slant upwards and get pulled upwards dramatically with a lot of vertical price action. The previous peaks that you would expect go back to 2021, 2020, and then 2017 back there where we connected from the top. So the Bitcoin weekly chart looking extremely strong. Let's look at the daily as well. Bitcoin, sorry, when I say daily, it's the daily 200 rate of change. We're going to have to zoom in a little bit. Well, what do you know? Bitcoin also just broke through a downtrend here on the daily 200-day rate of change. Again, the breakout marked the most recent pivot from 109,000. And that was in September, late September. So there's something to this, guys. I've told you, I've spent entire weekends just going through a bunch of random stocks, looking at their 200 rate of change and just seeing if there's signal. And I really, truly, strongly believe there is. Now let's go to MSTR and do the same thing. So we are on the weekly chart for MSTR. The weekly, by the way, higher time frame is more significant if you ask me. This is weekly chart MSTR going back to March of 2024, 200 week rate of change. And well, we are rubbing right up against resistance today. So if anybody wanted to predict a down day for MSTR, there were signs. You could have also said just as easily, no, today we break through and it's an explosive day. Like it's going to be one or the other most likely because, well, that's why we call it resistance. Until you break through, you would expect it to pivot off of, right, and resume downwards. I also don't know like what comes next, but my lean based on, again, why I love this trade so much, the Bitcoin trade, the Bitcoin proxy trade. By the way, my number one exposure to this trade is cold storage Bitcoin. If anybody's wondering, just want to remind you guys, like I think that's a blessing that we're able to do that. And, you know, I think everybody should take advantage of it. But yeah, like I expect to see a breakthrough and an explosive move for MSTR that takes us above 360, above 424, above the previous all-time high, and then quickly, significantly higher. That is my expectation. I don't think that's a bold take, especially with the Bitcoin log chart that we just discussed that I expect to recover after basically I'm calling today a backtest. Could it theoretically backtest further down tomorrow and get a clean backtest? Yes, it could, but I think we came close enough today. But time will tell. So that was the weekly on MSTR. Here is the daily. Okay, so the week, by the way, when I switch, you can kind of tell that now the yellow weekly line is kind of floating in no man's land. Ignore that. Let's look at the white line here. This is MSTR on the daily going back to November 2024. And we, in fact, got a breakout already. Essentially, that helped us identify right here that it wasn't exactly on the bottom. It was down there at 314, as best as I can tell. Also possible I didn't draw the line perfectly. We could just adjust the line a little bit like that and say that, boom, it nailed the bottom perfectly down at 292. But guys, all I'm trying to say, there's signal here, and we're talking about just breaking out a second ago. And if you think it's valuable, by the way, in my private group, I did like a almost hour-long video where I went through 16 of the largest by market cap Bitcoin miners, did the 200-day rate of change, did TA on the linear chart and the log chart, gave price targets with timeframes. That's included for members. Just saying, I also went through a bunch of additional like proxy trades that I added to positions today specifically. I also shared a screenshot of the positions that I added today as well. In case you're wondering, that's all included in the group. Check out Bitcoin's weekly RSI. There is massive compression going back to the inception of Bitcoin, going back like 15 years. Like a huge move is coming for Bitcoin, guys. And if you want to believe it's to the downside while we're above the 8-year linear channel, that's fine. And while we're above the log chart breakout channel, that's fine. You do what you want to do with your money. I promise I'm not going to be offended if you disagree with my take. It's all good. But clearly a big move is coming. So make sure you're on the right side of it, or at least, I don't know, do whatever you want. I wanted to mention, in case you're wondering, on the log chart breakout, because Bitcoin's current weekly reading on the RSI, the weekly RSI is 63. You might be wondering, well, what were the previous log chart breakout RSIs? So I have it written down on my side monitor here. If you care, I can screenshot it. I don't know if anybody actually cares, but so December 2020, let's go back here and check it out. December 7th, 2020. Let's find that. December 7th, 2020. So this was the beginning of a log chart breakout in 2020 where Bitcoin from this point ran 275%. The weekly RSI reading was 84. And if you haven't studied the RSI of Bitcoin in the past, many of the breakouts begin from overbought. So now you know, all right? The log chart breakout in 2020 started from 84, which is overbought, pretty significantly overbought on a relative basis. We are currently at 64. I don't know if you guys understand how far Bitcoin can run according to the RSI. And that we also are just beginning the breakouts on the 200 rate of change. We'll look at 2017 and then we'll call it a day. 22 May 2017. Let's go back there. Right here. 22 May 2017. Actually was down here in a dip. 2017 was interesting though, because remember, it spent a lot of time around the log chart breakout level. It didn't really pick up until later. We can actually just check in if you want to see, like, it actually really started to pick up right here in August. So maybe we measure from August, because this is basically where we are today in terms of the analog. So I'll look at early August. So early August right here. And Bitcoin's weekly RSI was like 70. So we're starting this log chart breakout with the lowest weekly RSI, and it's high time frame, so significant. But yeah, guys, we're starting this log breakout on Bitcoin with the lowest weekly RSI reading that we've seen, implying in my mind that we have that much further to go to the upside. If you're irresponsibly long MSTR like I am, how much would it be worth to you to have somebody who's in the charts daily looking for the perfect entry for shares and options, and eventually looking to see if we might have topped and it's time to take profits? If this is something that interests you, I want to invite you to check out my MSTR Generational Wealth community linked below.